All right, what's up, guys? Another day, another rant video, because I am sick and tired of these annoying, terrible Apex cards. Every single time the UFC goes to the Apex, they put on a garbage card. If we're going to be in the Apex, can we at least put on good cards? You're not paying for a venue. You can afford to pay the fighters more and have more exciting fighters on it. Like what? If we're not, can we get out of the Apex and go to arenas? I mean, guys, tell me if I'm overreacting, but look at some of these events. Moreno versus Albazi. I'm not excited for this fight card whatsoever. I'm going to watch it because I'm a UFC fan, but I don't give a flying fuck about Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi is boring as shit, and Brandon Moreno, I promise you guys, one day I'm going to be champion. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. I don't care, dude. His name's the fucking assassin, baby, dude. Look at this card, man. Oh my God, these cards are sucking this year. The end of this year is embarrassing. I know the UFC pay-per-views have been pretty good, but the Apex cards have been a sham. Okay, Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi, fair enough. A good fight. Two top flyweights going at it. Erin Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas. We all know Rose Namajunas is washed. She's going to get cooked. Derek Lewis fighting another taxi driver. Who the fuck is Janata Deniz? Never heard of him. Never heard of Cal Machado or Brinson Ribeiro. Maybe that's my inner casual. I'm not. Maybe I'm just a fake hardcore. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Battle of the Journeyman. Fucking Mike Mallet versus Trevin Giles. Mike Mallet literally has no hype. He got fraud checked by Neil Magny. Your career's over, Mike Mallet. No one cares. Ayman Zahabi versus Pedro Munoz. Fair enough. Pedro Munoz, he's like 38. Who cares anymore? Ariane De Silva versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. I don't care about this fight. Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. I don't care about this fight. Jack Shore versus Yusuf Zalal. Fair enough. I think Yusuf Zalal is going to destroy Jack Shore. Alexander Romanov. How is this dude ranked in the heavyweight division? He's one of the worst heavyweights I've ever seen. Gas is out. No technique. Just awful all around. Sergey City versus Garrett Armfield. Like, who are these fucking fighters, man? Chad and Enhelger versus Cody Gibson. Jamie Lynn North, Ivana Petrovic. Dude, am I overreacting? Am I being another salty, ungrateful YouTuber? Or these fight cards are actually shit? Because what is this? This is what we stay up late for. This shit. Like, are you kidding me? A multi-billion-dollar company, and they can't afford to pay better fighters to fight on these cards to make them somewhat exciting. Let's look at that. Let's look at another event. Let's look at Protest versus Magny. Protest versus Magny. Fair enough. Carlo Protest, exciting prospect. But dude, how is Neil Magny getting the main event? He's fucking 37 years old and he can't win a fight. Granted, he beat Mike Mallet, but Mike Mallet sucks. That's just that. But Neil Magny, how is he ranked? He shouldn't be in the top 15 anymore. And I just think dude, if Neil Magny beats Carlos Protest, the UFC is literally dead. I don't know what else to say. Cody Garbrandt? I don't even care about Cody Garbrandt fights anymore. Dude, he gets finished by everybody. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and you're in 40 years old, fighting Denise Gomez? I just don't care. Ricky Tercios versus Bernardo Sopaj? I just don't care. Fair enough. Mearshart versus Rainer de Ritter, former 2 Division 1 champion. They did him dirty by putting him on an Apex card. Should have put him on a pay-per-view prelims, but whatever. Luana Pinheiro versus Jillian Robertson? I just don't care, dude. Like, I don't care about women's MMA. Not going to pretend like I do, okay? Ilizu Zaleski dos Santos versus Nicholas Dalby. Fair enough, a good fight. Nicholas Dalby's going to win. And then it drops off a cliff. Mansur Abu Malik versus Dusko Todorovic. Like, I just don't care about this fight. Neither of these guys are going to be champion. No one cares. Matthew Simmelsberger, he should be cut from the UFC. He sucks. Versus Charles Radke. Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear, brother. Oh, what a banger. Can't wait for this one. Melissa Mullins versus Claudio Segula. I don't care. Gaston Bolanos versus Cartavius Ramius. Trayshawn Gore, Antonio Trocali. Like, dude, am I the only one that just thinks these fights are ass? Like, what do we have to do as fans to get good fights? I'll tell you what we need. We need the UFC to get out of the Apex because they know if they go to an event where they have to, like, fill an actual arena or a venue, they have to stack the card with decent fighters. You can't just... That's why they're at the Apex, so they can pay these fighters lower amounts of money and have these shit fighters on these cards that no one cares about. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to pretend to be a hardcore. These fights suck. Call me a casual, whatever. And fair enough, Buckley versus Ian Gary just got announced for UFC Tampa in December. That's a good fight night. It's amazing how whenever you build a card that's not in the Apex, it can actually be decent. It's because they need to get out of the Apex. We don't want to see Apex fight nights anymore. Let's look at this. Even UFC Macau. Listen, this isn't even an Apex fight night. But what is this card, dude? I love this fight. Davison Figueiredo versus Piotr Jan. This is an amazing fight. Davison Figueiredo coming up looking amazing at bantamweight versus Piotr Jan trying to come back on his redemption tour to get his belt. Fair enough. But look at this card, dude. We got Piotr Jan, and fair enough, they're paying homage to the Chinese fighters on this card, but I'm not going to let them get away with that and just act like they can just drop the shit card on us and get away with it. Piotr Jan versus Davison Figueiredo. Great fight. Yan Janan versus Tabitha Ritchie. Good fight, but who cares? Song Kanan versus Muslim Salikov. Muslim Salikov is 40 years old. Song Kanan, not that good. And then it drops off a cliff. Wang Kong versus Gabriela Fernandez. Fair enough. This should be the feature fight. Volkan Oezdemir versus Carlos Alberg should be the feature fight. And then we go down. Who the fuck is Zhang Minyang versus Ozzy Diaz? Who's Ozzy Diaz? Ji Bin versus Zhu Kanji? Are these guys just pulling these Chinese fighters out of their ass? Beijing Jilizi versus Seoyong Yu from South Korea? Kiru Singh Sahota versus Donggun Choi? Like, dude. Si Ming versus Fing. Have any of you guys heard of any of these Chinese fighters? I have not heard of any of them outside of a couple at the top. I'm not being a hater on Chinese fighters. I love Chinese fighters. I mean, what's his name? Li Jingliang's amazing for Chinese MMA. Zhang Weili, amazing. Yao Jianan, good women's fighter. But dude, don't pretend like the UFC isn't just grabbing these random ass Chinese fighters to make a UFC China card. Like, I get it. But where's the exciting fights on this card? We have like one exciting fight in Oezdemir versus Alberg and two with the main event. That's it. Jan versus Figueiredo and Alberg versus Oezdemir. I don't care about a single other one of these fights on here. Not one. I don't give a shit about none of these guys. I'm not even trying to be a dick. I'm just keeping it real. The UFC's putting on these garbage events, and we're just, as fans, supposed to just accept it. Oh, dude, all you do is complain about UFC events. Like, it's not that bad. Yes, it is that bad. I'm tired of pretending like Apex cards are good. I'm tired of staying up till midnight to watch them. And people are going to say, well, you don't have to. Well, I'm going to because I'm a fan of the sport. And that's why I'm so disappointed in UFC, because I know as the best organization in the world, they could put out better cards. They could. They just choose not to. Like, dude. Oh, my God. Let's look at some of the past events we recently just had. Like Hernandez versus Pereira. Like, who? Dude. Jake Hadley, Cameron Smotherman. Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda, Mateus Nicolau, like Brad Katona. Who cares about any of these fights? Two fighters on this card got cut, Despain and Mateus Nicolau. These fighters suck. This is all the same cards. You look at these cards, they're literally just the same cards. Random unranked fighters all the way down with a couple ranked fights sprinkled in here and there. One or two ranked fights on the entire card. This card had 1, 2, 3 fights with rankings. All the rest of the fights were no rankings. And people are like, yeah, man, people forget, man, Hernandez versus Pereira with a banger card. No, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I enjoy these cards. I don't. I don't care if they play out to be all bangers. I want good matchups. I want big names. I want top UFC fighters. That's what makes fans excited for cards. It's not the results of the fights. It's the fights themselves. Like, I'm not excited about a potential fight of the night between Hernandez and Pereira. I'm excited about matchups like Poirier versus Hooker 2 or Max Holloway versus, I don't know, Michael Chandler. Like, so just give us something, dude. No, they don't want to pay those guys to fight in a non-pay-per-view, so they stack these Apex cards with shit fighters. I mean, look at this. Burns versus Brady? What was this card? Steve Garcia, Cal Nelson? Who gives a shit about Cal Nelson, dude? Match Now? Match Now doesn't have a chin at flyweight. Fair enough, Trevor Peak. But look at these. Am I overreacting? Somebody tell me in the comments. Am I being an ungrateful fan? These cards suck. And us as fans deserve better. The UFC is the richest and premier organization in the world for MMA. And yet they're still in the apex in 2024. Going into 2025, we're still in the apex. What are we doing, UFC? Get out of the apex. Let's do more fight nights at Tampa, more fight nights, Dallas. I don't know. Dude, there's so many places you could do fight nights. You can do fight nights all over Europe. You can do fight nights like, dude, I get it. I get it, UFC. You don't want to take your precious billions and give more to the fighters to have better fighters on these cards. I get it, but for the fans, you want to grow the sport. The sport's going to die or it's going to plateau if they don't continue to push big fights. Like, I'm just over these type of fight nights like Moreno versus Albazi. It's the same Apex BS every single time. Get out of the Apex. I don't care about Apex fight nights. You know what I want to see on Apex fight nights? Women's title fights. That would be a good Apex fight night. Either ways, guys, this is my opinion on the UFC events at the end of the year. I'm just, as a fan of the sport, I'm just really disappointed. Yes, I agree. The UFC pay-per-views recently have been really good. And maybe people will argue that the reason that the fight nights are so bad is because the pay-per-views have all the great fighters. Fair enough, but I still feel like they can do a better job. They can pay some of the top-ranked guys more money to fight on these fight night cards, and they could put it together. They just don't. They offer these bottom-feeder fighters from Dana White's Contender Series and other places to fight on these Apex cards that nobody's ever heard of, and then they don't care because ESPN has already paid them a certain amount for their contract, so they could just put on these shit fights. Like, dude, the ESPN deal was one of the worst things to happen to the UFC because then they just stopped caring about the product, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. We've had some bangers, UFC 300, UFC 299, UFC 308 recently. The pay-per-views are not the problem. Pay-per-views sometimes could be better, but it's really these fucking Apex events. I'm tired of them. Let me know if I'm a whiny crybaby in the comments. Let me know if I'm a casual about the UFC Macau card. I just don't know Chinese MMA. Tell me. But yeah, guys, I'm out. I don't know what to say. I just want better fight nights. That's all I want. If I'm gonna be staying up till 11 o'clock on a work night, whenever I have to get up at 6 a.m., God forbid, I want better fight nights. I want better matchups. Am I crazy for this? Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the new subscribers. I stream multiple times a week if you want to join on those. Thank you guys, and yeah, I'm out.